The restaurant is losing money. We need to shut it down. My brother Derek slid a financial report across the table, his face dead serious. The pages were covered in red ink, 6 months of losses, declining revenue, failure everywhere. But 3 days ago, we broke a weekend sales record. I looked at those numbers and felt my stomach turn. Something was very, very wrong. My name's Maya. I'm 29 years old, and I work at my family's restaurant, my late father's dream. I'm the head chef and day-to-day manager. I've been there for 8 years. I know every regular's order by heart. I know every supplier by name. I've bled for that place, but my family's never taken me seriously. To them, I'm just the cook. My brother Derek handles the business side. He went to business school. He's got the degree, the suits, the confidence. He's the smart one, the one Dad trusted with the numbers. I got the kitchen, and for a long time, I was fine with that. I loved the kitchen. I loved feeding people. I loved watching their faces when they took the first bite of something I'd made. But the restaurant wasn't just my job. It was my whole life. It was the last piece of my father I had left. Losing it would have destroyed me. I wasn't the one with the MBA or the fancy office. I didn't have the spreadsheets or the jargon. But I knew that place inside and out. I knew when we were busy and when we were slow. I knew when the money was good. And I knew we weren't failing. If you've ever been pushed aside by family, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened next showed me exactly how far someone will go when they think you're too dumb to notice. Derek called an urgent family meeting 2 days after he showed me those reports. It was me, him, our mother, and Uncle Robert, Mom's brother. We sat in the restaurant's back office, the same office where my dad used to do payroll on Sunday nights. Derek had printed copies of the financial reports for everyone. Declining profits, mounting debts, red numbers everywhere. He cleared his throat. "I've been looking at this for weeks," he said, "and I don't see a way forward. We need to shut down and sell the property." I felt like I'd been punched. "What?" I said. "Derek, we just had our best weekend in months. We're booked solid for the next 2 weeks." He didn't even look at me. "That's not what the numbers say, Maya." "But I was here. I saw the receipts." "You handle the cooking, Maya. I handle the numbers. Trust me on this." My mother leaned forward, her face worried. "Are you sure, Derek?" "I'm sure, Mom. I already have a development company interested in the property. We could get a good price if we move quickly." My blood went cold. "You already talked to a buyer?" "Of course. I've been in talks for a few weeks now. I wanted to have options before I brought this to you." "A few weeks?" He finally looked at me. His expression was calm, professional, like he was explaining something to a child. "This isn't a sudden decision, Maya. I've been watching the trends. We're in decline. It's better to get out now while we still have value." I turned to my mother. "Mom, this doesn't make sense. The restaurant is doing fine. Better than fine. Tell him." She looked at Derek, then at the papers in front of her. "He went to business school, sweetheart. He knows what he's doing." Uncle Robert nodded. "Sometimes you have to trust the numbers." I felt the walls closing in. Derek laid out his plan, close within 30 days. Sell to the development company, split the proceeds. Except Derek had his own idea about the split. "I've invested more into infrastructure over the last 2 years," he said. "HVAC upgrades, the new POS system, renovations. I think it's fair I get 50%. You and Mom can split the rest." I stared at him. "You want half?" "I've put in the capital, Maya. That's how business works." My mother didn't argue. Uncle Robert nodded along like it all made perfect sense. And just like that, they voted. Shut it down. Sell it. Move on. Derek looked at me across the table, his voice smooth and cold. Sometimes family businesses run their course. Don't take it personally. I left that meeting shaking, but I wasn't ready to give up. The next morning, I tried to log into the business bank accounts. I wanted to see the real numbers for myself. Check the deposits. Verify what Derek was saying. The password didn't work. I tried again. Nothing. I called the bank. "I'm sorry, Ms. Carter," the rep said. "You're no longer listed as a signatory on that account." "What? Since when?" "The change was made last week." I hung up and went straight to Derek's office. He was at his desk, typing on his laptop. Calm. Unbothered. "You locked me out of the accounts?" He didn't look up. "We need to protect the assets during the transition. It's standard procedure." "Standard procedure?" "Derek, I've been managing that restaurant for 8 years. And I appreciate everything you've done. But right now, we need to be careful. I can't have unauthorized transactions." "Unauthorized?" "I'm your sister." He finally looked at me. His eyes were flat. "Maya, I'm trying to do what's best for the family. Don't make this harder than it has to be." I wanted to scream. Uncle Robert happened to walk by. He heard the raised voices and poked his head in. "Everything okay?" "Derek locked me out of the business accounts." Uncle Robert shrugged. "He's just being responsible, Maya." That's when I realized. They weren't going to listen to me. Not Derek. Not Mom. Not Uncle Robert. I was alone. But I wasn't done. I started talking quietly to the staff. People I'd worked with for years. Maria, the line cook who'd been there since the beginning. Sam, the dishwasher who always showed up early. Jenny, the server who knew every regular by name. I told them I was fighting the closure. I asked them to hold on. Just a little longer. 2 days later, Derek called an all-staff meeting. He didn't tell me about it. I showed up for my shift and found everyone gathered in the dining room. Cooks, servers, dishwashers, the whole team. Derek stood at the front, next to a whiteboard. I felt a chill. He started talking, thanking everyone for their hard work, praising their dedication. And then he said it. "Unfortunately, due to financial pressures beyond our control, we'll be closing at the end of the month." People gasped. A few of the servers started crying. I stepped forward. "Derek, we need to talk about this." He turned to me, his face sympathetic, practiced. "I know this is hard for you, Maya. It's not—" He cut me off. "My sister cares deeply about this place. Her emotional attachment is clouding her judgment. She doesn't understand the numbers. Sometimes you have to know when to quit." The room went silent. Everyone looked at me, pity in their eyes. Maria, the line cook who'd worked beside me for 6 years, whispered, "I'm so sorry, mija." My authority, my dignity, gone. Destroyed in 30 seconds. I left the room before anyone could see me cry. But a few days later, everything changed. I came in early one morning. The restaurant didn't open until 11, but I wanted to prep in peace. As I walked past the office, I heard Derek's voice. He was on the phone, laughing. "Don't worry, she'll sign. She doesn't know anything about the real numbers. She buys the story." I froze. He kept talking. "Yeah. Once we close, I'll have the capital freed up. This is the smartest move I've made." My hands started shaking. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding. He wasn't mistaken. He wasn't trying to save the business. He was lying. Later that week, I overheard him talking to my mother in the hallway. "Maya's always been too soft for business. Dad should have left the restaurant to me alone." I tried to tell my mother what I'd heard. I tried to explain. She looked at me like I was losing my mind. "You're stressed, sweetheart." "Derek, wouldn't lie about something this serious. That night, I sat alone in my apartment and realized the truth. No one in my family believed me. They thought I was desperate, paranoid, grasping at straws. I could keep begging, keep pleading, keep trying to convince them, or I could prove it. I stopped begging. I started digging. I pulled up old POS reports, receipt records, supplier invoices, anything Derek didn't control. And I found something. The numbers didn't match. Derek's reports showed a $15,000 loss on June 12th. But the POS system showed $22,000 in revenue that day. I checked another date. Same thing. His numbers didn't match reality. And then I remembered something my father told me years ago when he first started teaching me the business side. Always keep your own records, Maya. Always. I'd listened. What they didn't know was that I'd been keeping my own records since the day Dad died. I had a USB drive, a cloud folder, daily sales logs, customer counts, inventory reports. Derek assumed I wouldn't understand the POS system back end. He thought I was just the cook. But Dad taught me. I started cross-referencing Derek's lost days against actual credit card processor deposits. Nothing matched. He was lying, systematically, for months. And then I remembered something else. Margaret. Margaret had been our family accountant for 20 years. She'd worked with my dad since the restaurant opened. She knew every detail of the business. And 2 years ago, right after Derek took over the finances, she retired. Suddenly, she'd seemed upset at her going-away party, but no one talked about why. I had 30 days until Derek sold our legacy, but I only needed 1 week to prove he was a liar. I drove to Margaret's house on a Tuesday afternoon. She answered the door in a gardening apron, surprised to see me. Maya? I need your help. We sat in her kitchen. I explained everything, the reports, the meeting, the lockout, the things I'd overheard. Her face grew hard. I was wondering when you'd figure it out. You knew? She sighed. 2 years ago, Derek asked me to sign off on some creative accounting, expenses that didn't exist. Revenue shifted to different quarters. I told him no. He pushed. I refused. So he forced me into early retirement. I felt my hands clench. Why didn't you say anything? I tried. Your mother didn't want to hear it. Derek convinced her I was just old-fashioned, didn't understand modern business practices. She looked at me. But you're here now, so let's fix this. Margaret reviewed everything I'd gathered. Sales logs, processor statements, invoices. 2 days later, she called me. Your brother's been cooking the books. He's hiding profits in a separate LLC. This is fraud, Maya. We kept digging. Margaret pulled records from the credit card processor, the bank, supplier accounts, and we found it. An LLC called Summit Hospitality Solutions. Derek had been funneling weekend profits into it for over a year. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here's the worst part. He was planning to keep that money separate from the sale. He wasn't just defrauding me, he was defrauding our mother. Margaret looked at the numbers, her face grim. You need to confront him with this in front of witnesses. Make it so he can't lie his way out. Meanwhile, Derek was getting bolder. He started bringing developers to tour the property. Treated it like the deal was done. He and my mother went out to celebrate. Posted photos at some expensive steakhouse downtown. At a tense family dinner, he smiled at me across the table. You'll be fine, Maya. Maybe you can do a catering thing, a food truck. Something more your speed. Uncle Robert laughed. It's probably for the best. Running a business isn't for everyone. They thought they'd won. I let them think it. I told Derek I'd sign the closure papers. I just wanted one last family meeting. To get closure. To understand the final numbers. Agreed immediately. Arrogant. Unsuspecting. The night before the meeting, he texted me. "Stop being difficult. You've always been the weak one. Just sign and move on." I took a screenshot. Then I didn't sleep. The meeting was set for 10 a.m. on a Thursday. Present. Me, Derek, our mother, Uncle Robert. Derek had the sale documents ready. His laptop open with the fake financial reports on the screen. I walked in with Margaret. Derek raised an eyebrow. "Margaret's helping me understand the paperwork," I said. He shrugged, smiled. This was a formality to him. We sat down. Derek slid the documents toward me. "If you want to review anything before you sign, now's the time." I nodded. "Before I sign, I just need to understand a few things." "Of course. I know this is hard for you." I pulled out my own folder, opened it. "Can you explain June 12th? He blinked. "What about it?" "You show a $15,000 loss that weekend, but I pulled the POS data. We made $22,000 in revenue. How do you explain that?" He barely hesitated. "POS systems glitch. These are the certified accounting numbers." "What about the credit card processor? They show the same 22,000. Are they wrong too?" His smile faded. "Maya, you clearly don't understand accrual accounting expenses." I cut him off. "Then explain this." I slid a folder across the table. Bank statements for Summit Hospitality Solutions LLC. The room went silent. My mother picked up the papers, confused. "What is this?" "That's Derek's private account. See the deposit dates? They match every weekend he claimed we lost money." Margaret spoke, her voice calm and professional. "I've reviewed all the records. Derek has been systematically hiding profits for 14 months. He fabricated losses to justify closing the restaurant." Uncle Robert stared at Derek. "What is she talking about?" Derek tried to bluster. "This is a misunderstanding. That LLC handles vendor payments and—" "Then where did the money go?" I said. "It's still sitting in that account. Over $300,000. My mother went pale. "Derek, tell me this isn't true." Derek's face flushed, angry now. "I've been keeping this place afloat. You have no idea what I've sacrificed." "You stole from us," I said. "From Mom. From Dad's memory." He snapped. "Dad left me in charge because he knew you couldn't handle it. You're just a cook." The room went cold. I looked him in the eye. Margaret's prepared a full report. Dates, amounts, transfers, everything. I slid another document across the table. "Here's what happens next. You return every dollar. You sign over your shares of the restaurant to me, and you walk away." Derek laughed. Bitter. Desperate. "Or what?" Margaret answered. "Or I file this report with the district attorney and you explain embezzlement and fraud to a judge." My mother turned on him, her voice shaking. "How could you do this to us?" Uncle Robert looked disgusted. "You lied to all of us." Derek tried one last card. "You don't know how to run a business, Maya. Without me, you'll fail in 6 months." I smiled. "I've been running it for 2 years while you were robbing it. I think I'll be fine." He had no move left. My mother's voice was ice. "Sign whatever she wants, Derek. Now." He signed the documents, transferring his ownership to me, agreeing to a repayment plan for the stolen funds. Then he left. I never saw him at the restaurant again. My mother apologized. She admitted she'd been blinded by Derek's confidence, his degree, his smooth explanations. Uncle Robert got quiet, respectful. He asks how business is going now, but he doesn't offer advice anymore. With the embezzled money returned, the restaurant didn't just survive, it thrived. I implemented menu changes Derek always dismissed. New marketing, better staff scheduling, morale skyrocketed. The team was energized. Revenue went up. Regulars noticed the difference. One Saturday afternoon, I visited my father's grave. I told him I'd saved his dream. For years, I let Derek convince me I was small, that I didn't understand the real business. Turns out I was the only one who actually understood what we were building. He only saw dollar signs. I saw a family legacy. I saw Derek once at a family holiday, months later. He couldn't even look at me. The humiliation was his now. And I felt no anger anymore. Just peace. The restaurant didn't need to be shut down. It just needed Derek gone. I stopped waiting for my family to see my worth. I proved it. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. If this story hit home, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now. Have you ever had a family member lie to you about something this big? Someone you trusted completely? Tell me your story in the comments and drop your location below. I love seeing where all of you are watching from. I read every single one. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who thought they were smarter than you, just know you're not alone. Your story matters. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.